Welcome back to Full Circle. I am Tamima, and thank you so much for choosing to stay with us this morning. So early on, I mentioned that we're going to be jumping into an interview where I get to let you in on the secret behind this new fad that I'm sure you've had women or your girlfriends talking about, intermittent fasting. Joining me to tell us more about this is Wanjiru Macharia, who is from My Planted Kitchen. Wanjiru, welcome to Full Circle.
Thank you so much.
So intermittent fasting.
Yes.
This is the latest craze in town. You know, when I'm seated with my girlfriends, especially people who are health buffs and they're trying to put off a few kilos, because Lord knows, during COVID, it's either you commit to buying a whole new wardrobe or you commit to actually having a healthier lifestyle. And so intermittent fasting is a thing that most girls are now trying out. So maybe let's start with, what is intermittent fasting?
Intermittent fasting is basically meal timing. That's what it is. It means you are extending the number of hours where you're not eating. You're giving your system a break from digesting and processing food and giving it more time to do other important processes such as detoxing, such as cell rejuvenation, and most importantly, digging into stored fat for your energy. And that's where the secret comes in, into making it such an effective tool to burn more energy and lose a few more kilos. Okay,
so I'm sure most people are familiar with the concept of fasting, either through religion. For instance, the Muslims during Ramadan get to fast for the entire month. We know the Catholics, there's some form of fasting that they go through. And also, really, fasting is very common within the religious circles. But now, what makes intermittent fasting, specifically different from the other types of fasting?
So the other types of fasting for religious reasons are mostly long fasts. They are fasts that will be either dry or wet, and they will typically...
So dry means you don't eat anything at all.
Exactly. And that's typically what I see with the Ramadan period. It's usually nothing, including water.
So from X in the morning, like 6 a.m. in the morning, you eat like 7 a.m., dry fasting. No water, nothing at all.
Exactly. And you're doing it consistently every single day for a long period of time. And I think for Ramadan, it's 30 days.
It's a full month.
Exactly. For Lent and other religions like the Coptic religion, the Coptic church, they do 40 days. So the difference with that and intermittent fasting is that with intermittent fasting, you start to incorporate it as a lifestyle and not so much a discipline that you do in a specific period of time very strongly. And that's the difference. So with intermittent fasting, what you could do is simply just think about the time that you go to bed and try to push those hours forward. So instead of having your dinner at 7, start having it at 5. So what you're doing is you're increasing the number of hours where you're not eating. So if you had 12 hours of not eating, now you've increased it to 14. And then you continue increasing it to 16 hours. And you're doing it intermittently. While at the same time, which I always advise, is you give yourself breaks, what I call refeed days. Because what happens with our bodies is it's very adaptable. It will figure, oh, this is how we do it. Okay, let's slow down our metabolism because we are not getting as much food anyway.
This is what most girls talk about. Once you commit to going on a diet, that's when all of a sudden you start seeing pizza, burgers, ice cream. So your body becomes, your body is technically working against you.
Yes.
So it's 2 steps ahead. So when it comes to intermittent fasting, because so the fasting bit, we'll get into that, but now on the intermittent element, because that's timing. That you intermittently you're eating or you're not.
Exactly.
So what I know I've heard about the 18-6, the I think almost 16-8. So tell me, what are all these ratios?
So there are different ways to do intermittent fasting on a daily basis or on a every other day basis. 16-8 is the most common. It's called lean gains. And you fast for 16 hours and you eat within an 8-hour period. And the easiest way I could give, because instead of going into calculation in the number of hours, is think of a day, a work day. You get into work at 9 and you get off at 8. Those are the hours you eat. 9 to 5, so you get off at 5. So, and then the other hours you are not eating completely. Then we've got the 18-6. Basically what just means is you're pushing in 1 hour in the morning forward and an hour in the evening. So instead of 9 to 5, you are doing 10 to 4. That's 18-6.
So we've gotten like there are different rhythms.
Yes.
So you can intermittent differently. Some people 16-8, some 18-6.
Some even up to 24.
Oh, wow.
They only eat 4 hours of the day, and that is known to be one of the most effective methods. However, it needs a certain level of discipline. So if
Right.
you're a newbie, please start from like
Be
14,
humble.
10. Otherwise, it may really throw you off.
Right.
And I think a thing I need to mention is that intermittent fasting, it should be taken cautiously, in the sense that if you already have issues with disordered eating, and I'm not saying eating disorders, because eating disorders are sort of like a medical, they need to be looked at medically. We're talking bulimia, anorexia, those need a medical expert to help you. But disordered eating means you do food binging, so you reward yourself with food, you punish yourself with food. If you have those tendencies, then intermittent fasting may aggravate them. So what you need to do is to start slow and listen to your body. Because if it throws you off and you start having crazy cravings like what you're talking about, all of a sudden, chips seems to be the thing you need.
You fall off the wagon.
Exactly.
And you're back to square zero,
Yeah.
basically. So let's talk about now the fasting bit when you're practicing intermittent fasting. Because is it a dry fast? Like during the hours when you're supposed to be fasting?
Yeah.
What is that type of fasting?
Yeah.
I don't eat anything at all. Am I allowed to drink water?
Yeah.
What are the rules?
So for most people, and I'll say also what I do, I take water. I take water. So you take things that will not take you out of a fast. Some people will say, I take bone broth when I'm fasting. It takes you out of a fast because anything that elevates your blood sugar takes you out of a fast, because now your body starts to break down that food or that sugar in the form of maybe the fat in the bone broth, or a sweetener in a tea. So you need to be careful. So the things that may not take you out of a fast are water, coffee, black coffee without any tea, any sugar, black tea, and green tea as well. Those are usually the common ones. There are others, but those are the common ones. And for most people, this will actually help you get the stamina to keep going. Because remember, some people actually prefer to fast during the day when they're at work, so that they can break fast and have a meal with their family.
Right.
So what's the thing that will give you the push? Some stimulant, coffee or black tea. And then water is so important so you don't get dehydrated. It will make your hunger pangs worse if you're dehydrated. But for those who are able to do dry fast, well and good. And so when you break your fast, you break your fast with something easy for the tummy. Don't dive into like burgers and fries. Break your fast with something that like lean protein or a smoothie.
Easy to digest.
Easy to digest.
You know, earlier on you mentioned that the thing about intermittent fasting, that it's all the craze right now, but really if you want to get it right, it has to be a lifestyle, and it's a lifestyle that you have lived. So I'm curious, how many kilograms have you been able, and really, let's not even make it about the kgs, let's be woke here for a second. How has it changed your lifestyle, or how has it changed your general well-being?
The biggest thing for me with intermittent fasting is that it helped me manage my hunger pangs and my cravings. That's the first thing. And I started doing intermittent fasting in 2018. And so it became a lifestyle. I got pregnant in 2019 and it was still a lifestyle. All I did was just change the hours. Like I said, you keep adjusting. And even through breastfeeding, I was able to actually really manage, because the other thing with women is during breastfeeding, you have serious hunger pangs. And so I didn't deprive myself so that I don't hurt my baby, but I was able to manage it, and even after. So just to give you an example, I was able to do a bit of 14-10, which we're talking about the hours, fasting for 14 hours, eating during the 10-hour period, combining it with very good eating clean, combining it with some movement, exercise most days of the week, and I've lost 13 kilos between July and October.
In October.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting that you've mentioned that it's not just about, because I feel like we need to be careful with this one, because people are taking the starvation route, whereby now intermittent fasting has become starvation. I basically starve myself for 30 days, I get the results, but unfortunately you go back to the same bad habits.
Exactly.
So it becomes like a bike that you're constantly getting on, off, on, and it's very counterproductive.
Exactly.
So let's focus a bit on, once you break your fast, ideally what should you eat? Because it doesn't really serve you if you've been fasting for 18 hours, and then now during your eating window for those 6 hours, you're the person who's ordered from that fast food place, chapati ndo hiyo. Yani you're making up for the fact that I've not eaten for 18 hours.
Exactly. So I think one of the things we did, and we just concluded a challenge. We just concluded a challenge with a group of women, and we've been going through intermittent fasting in October. And one of the most important tools we gave them was how to eat, and we gave them a list of the foods to eat and foods to avoid. And basically, to keep it very simply, it's whole foods that don't come with labels, foods that you will find in a market, foods that your grandmother can recognize. Those are the foods we are going to be focusing on majorly. And the other key thing is to learn to start prepping your own food, because if you're not into going into the kitchen and making your own food, highly likely you're actually going to order out. And what are you likely to order out?
Junk food most of the time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so we were looking at how can we reduce processed sugar. Processed sugar is so key, and even that boxed juice, it has a photo of a fruit on it. Do not be cheated. It has added sugar. Flavored yogurts have added sugar. So we were, trying to focus people on what doesn't have added sugar, what doesn't have processed sugar, what doesn't have a lot of sodium, which is the chips, the crisps, the crackers, And so basically anything processed is highly likely going to lean towards junk food. And what is unprocessed, whole food, that is what we're going for.
And can you talk about portions? Because
Yes.
you could eat healthy,
Yes.
but if your portions are,
Large.
large, it's also counterproductive.
Yeah. So we help them with a handy guide. And for me, the hand is the best guide. I know guys will use all kinds of things. They will count calories. They'll put the food on a scale, but that's a lot of work. And nobody can live like that every single day. But you have your hand with you every single day. So everywhere you go. So the palm of your hand is a protein. Your piece of chicken or your fish is the palm.
So it should never be bigger than my palm. So if you have small hands like me,
yes, that is enough for you, because your hand is proportional to your
what
body.
my body needs.
Yeah. And then you've got a cupped hand for carbohydrates.
Okay.
So this is all the carbohydrates. For a man, maybe 2, but for women, 1. And then we've got 2 fists of vegetables. This is a lot of vegetables. This is already
a lot.
half.
Someone was asking, are you sure you didn't mean that protein is like this and then vegetables is like this?
No, the other way. Actually, more veggies, more fiber.
Yeah.
The more colorful your vegetables, the better, because all those colors represent different nutrients. And then if you're going to do a piece of like cheese or nuts, make sure it's just a thumb. And that's all. I mean, that makes it so simple that wherever you are, whether you've traveled, whether you're on holiday, at home, you have your hand, you have your guide.
Right. And so if there's anybody who's looking to start this process, do I then just start? Like I could wake up today and start, or do I need like a prep period for my body to get ready?
Yeah, you could start by actually decreasing the hours. Even if it's by 30 minutes, start by that. Start by working on your portions as well. So if you typically eat at 10 p.m., start pushing those hours to 9 to 8. And that way you start training those intermittent fasting muscles for when you're ready to do something like 16-8 or 24. But then again, remember, it's so important to combine it with some movement, because you are maximizing that fat metabolism that's going on when you move.
And let's talk about movement, because I feel like movement sometimes comes with expectations. People might assume, oh, you're telling me to go sign up in a gym. Is that it? And I've found that like I use Samsung Health. It's so effective. In a day, anytime I feel like I've hit 6,000 steps and above, like I feel like I've conquered. You should see me on my Instagram. I'm just like champion. So how can we get people into the culture to understand that sometimes, modern life has made us very sedentary.
Yeah.
You're in the office, you're seated the whole day. And when we say movement, it's not necessarily paying money and signing up to a gym. Walk around your hood.
Yeah.
Just move.
Exactly. Find something you enjoy. That is key. If you enjoy dancing, get YouTube is one of the best resources, because all those things are there and they're free. If you enjoy yoga and stretching, that's a form of exercise. If you're the runner, you could get up early and hit the road, and you're back early and you start your day. It's what you enjoy, and it looks very different for different people. And I love what you're saying. Those steps in the day actually make such a big difference. And so if you're used to just sitting at the desk, start thinking about making your some things inconvenient so you can go. If you're used to the tea lady bringing the tea to you, tell them, don't bring me tea anymore. Let's
I'll get it myself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or taking the stairs instead of the
Right.
lift. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us. Very
Yeah.
insightful. I've for sure learned a lot. I hope you have as well. But right now, it's time for a very quick break. When we come back, I have with me in studio Boniface Mwangi, and we're going to be delving into his current project, the film Softie. So if you haven't watched that, we're going to be playing the trailer later on. So please stick around. We'll be right back.